Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone listening to me at this material moment. To all my students globally, those who are my students, my real students, and those who are more or less my shadow students, because students all over listens to this video on an introduction to guidance and counseling. Today, we will look at one of the aspects of guidance and counseling or school guidance and counseling program, and that is what we call the guidance services. The guidance services within the school context. What does it mean when we say these are guidance services? As we've learned earlier in our earlier two videos, we got to know that guidance is a concept on its own, and within this concept, you have services under this concept. So a guidance program in the school is a holistic program that comprises with other services that runs, and all these are under guidance. So within the school context, today we want to focus more on the school context, even though some of my examples may go outside the school. But within the school context, when we talk about guidance services, what does it mean? And when we talk about guidance services within the school context, in this sense, these are formalized guidance program within the school, or activities, guidance activities that the school authorities consciously plan. And this is planned, and it is planned in such a way that it is part of the school's agenda. For example, the school can decide that, okay, every Friday they will need to have a guidance program, a guidance information program, or one of the services under this guidance program. It can be information service to give certain information, valuable information to the student. That is when it means that they put this program on. Some of them can even put it on their timetable, the school timetable, so that when it is time, students are aware that today we have this very program. This is to make room. Although some of the guidance services can be coming up every blessed day, some are not like that. For example, when you receive new students in a school, you need to provide a particular kind of service to those individuals. What about those who are already students in the school? You need to provide some guidance services to such individuals. So it varies. So as we go along, you understand very well when we talk about some of these services and where they matters most. The first one that I want us to look at is the appraisal service. Appraisal is very important in counseling or guidance and counseling work, especially. So when we talk about the guidance program in the school, a guidance program cannot be holistic without including appraisal service. The reason is that the appraisal service gives you the real picture of the individual, the physical structures, the emotional nature of the person, and the likes and the dislikes regarding the academic work, regarding the non-academic work. All these activities can come out within the appraisal service process. And so when we talk about appraisal service, it involves the gathering of data. And when that data is collected on the individual student, then it is organized, and that data is analyzed and interpreted to the student. Because the data you are collecting it on the student. So the result should be discussed with the student. So you have collected the data on the student's behavior in the classroom and the student's behavior outside the classroom. Now, what does this mean to the child? You will need to inform the child of this report, of this finding. That will help you. So apart from informing the child or the student about the findings that you discovered, it's also going to help you, the guidance and counseling coordinator, or you, the school psychologist, or you, the school counselor, to understand this individual child, because every individual is unique, and for that matter you need to collect individual data on this student, each student, and out of which you build what we call an inventory on each of the students. So each of the students is supposed to have its own file, that is, in a way that student A, student B, student C. So assuming you have about 500 students in your school, it means you need to build an inventory for each of them. And that is what will help. You see, because we are all not the same, we are all unique. So you don't treat students the same way, thinking that they are all like that. They can all be of the same age level, but their way of doing things may not be the same. Their cognitive development cannot be the same. There are variations as far as that is concerned. So how do we plan program for them? When we are able to gather this data through appraisal service, that is what we get to know students' problem. So that when we are planning guidance programs within the school, we know the peculiar nature of our students, and you know what to be done to resolve or help them deal with their peculiar nature. Now we talk about data gathering, and when we talk about data gathering, then there should be an instrument we must use to collect the data. So we can use two forms. Generally, we have the test types and then the non-test types. So the test type of instrument and the non-test types. Now let's look at an example of the test types of instrument. One, we have the mental ability test. And when we talk about the mental ability test, it means that you want to find out how the person mentally, cognitively is functioning. What is the IQ level? What is the intelligence coefficient level of that individual? Because you need to know before you can actually place the child. You need to know so that you don't wrongly place the child in a classroom. So that variation, because within the class you may not have all your students being very intelligent. That is why when you as a teacher, you are aware through the help of the guidance program within the school, you are aware of the individual or the uniqueness of your student, then you tally you kind of prepare your lesson and deliver your lesson in a manner that will meet the needs of each of these students. The other one that I want us to look at is the aptitude test. In this case, you want to find about people's knowledge, the basic skills that they have as far as a particular operation, a particular job, a particular exercise is concerned. So based on what you've collected, the data will let you know that, okay, this is the baseline of the people I'm dealing with. Then what next can I do to build on their knowledge level? Good. The next one is achievement test, and that is usually within the school context. We want to find out the achievement, how learning has taken place, the outcome of learning as far as the student is concerned, how learning has taken place. And then based on this, you get to know that, okay, my students after the lesson they were able to cover this far, or this is what has happened. All this helps the guidance and counseling program information. The next test type that we use, counselors use, or school psychologists use mostly is the personality test. The personality test. And when we talk about the personality test, it's also, we look at the personality traits, because again, we are all not the same. We have different personality, we have different temperament, and as a result, we need to understand our student. And how do we understand them? We can understand them based on the use of some of these tests. Then again, the interest inventory test. This will help us to identify the likes and the dislikes of an individual. What is the individual's interest? They are all in school. The students that we have, you may have them in school, even at home. Our kids, they were all brought up from the same home, guided by the same parents, given the same kind of food, but their interests are not the same. So how much more students who are brought up from different homes, trained under different conditions, are now in your classroom? You need to know that their interests may definitely not be the same, and therefore the school environment, through the help of the guidance and counseling program, they need to factor and tailor programs, activities, so that it will not be, the school should not just be academically biased. No, because not all students will have that strong interest in academic work. What about non-academic activities? Because the school system is supposed to build people holistically. And the next one that I want us to look at is the vocational interest or inventory. People have basic skills, specific skills that they work with, and based on that, they are able to. So, as I said earlier, the vocational inventory, or is a kind of instrument that is to gather the vocational skills of an individual, the unique skills the individual possesses, so that it can be refined kind of, because the individual may have it at a raw state. What can be done within the school environment to promote the development of such unique skills in individual? Then now we've looked at the test type. Let us look at some of the non-test types that we can use to collect data on our students or on our clients that we handle within the school system. Now, the first one could be observation. So you can observe the student to know, look at them when they are playing, when they are outside, when they are among their peers, see what they do. You can observe them from a distance to know what they do and the things they don't do, so that you get to learn from them that, okay, when they are under the class or they are in the classroom, this is how they behave. Outside the classroom too, this is how they behave. Now, what can be done to help them? Because the primary thing is that you want to find means of identifying the strengths and the weaknesses of your student, what they can do and what they cannot do well, and what you think is right, so that once you gather all this information on them, you'll be able to assist them. Again, you can also interview your student by asking them questions, basic questions. You can interview students, you can interview their colleagues, you can interview teachers, so that all these will help in the building of the inventory for each student. You can also give out questionnaire, and more importantly, in the school system where they already have the cumulative record cards, and these cards are basically, or they are meant to collect certain unique information on students, especially about their academic work in the school. So teachers, after assessing the student, the records are kept on this card for each student. So you can as well go in for this card to be able to understand the academic performance, how they are moving forward, or it is rather not working. Let's see students who are improving day in and day out, or term by term, semester by semester. That will give us a fair idea. And those who are rather not improving, what is the problem? A lot of things happen within the school system. Students encounter some challenges within and outside the school. Therefore, it is important for us to keep track of their progress, so that when we realize that things are not working, we need to quickly rush to their aid. Even if they are doing very well, we need to always come to their aid and encourage them to do more, because they have more to do and they can give out the best. If we encourage them, we give them the needed support, that is when they can give out that they have in them. Now, what are the principles of using a test? So assuming you've decided to use any of these test items, i.e. the mental test, vocational inventory, personality test, any of them that you want to use, what are the basic principles governing this? First of all, you need to know the uses of that test, what the test is used for, and that will also take us to the next level. Why do you want to administer that particular test? Why that particular test on this particular client or this particular individual? What exactly are you looking for? For which reason you want to administer mental ability test? Why do you want to administer personality test? Why the interest inventory? Why the vocational inventory? You don't just stand up and start administering tests. No, you are doing it for a purpose. You are looking for a specific thing, and that is why you do that. For example, in a classroom, a teacher can decide to give student essay type question. Why are you giving out the essay type question? Perhaps the teacher wants to find out how these students can express themselves. What about if it is about recall questions like multiple choice questions? The teacher is also aiming at a specific thing. That is why that teacher will go ahead and give such a test item to the student. So it's for a purpose. Again, the client must be aware of what the test is used for. So before you administer a test on a client or a student for the purposes of building an inventory or whatever, even in a normal classroom, before you tell your student that today or that day we are going to write a test, you need to pre-inform them, let them have a full knowledge about when this test will become and what kind of test are they writing and why are they writing it. It is so important. You cannot just ambush people, administer tests on them. No, you need to let them know why that test, what are you going to use it for. And then you, the one administering the test, assuming you are the school counselor, the school psychology, or whoever you are, or the guidance and counseling coordinator of the school, you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of these tests, because every test item has its own strength and its own weaknesses. It is when you know, that is when you can work out around the weaknesses so that you'll be able to get a more valid result. Again, you need to be familiar about how this test is administered and how it is scored. Every test, especially standardized tests, it has its own booklet, its own procedure, how you should administer it, the kind of condition you should administer it. And when you finish administering, what does it mean when we say somebody scored 4? What does it mean when we say somebody scored 3? The scoring and the interpretation of the scoring, you need to understand it very well. Again, because you are collecting this data on somebody and you've made the person to be aware why you are collecting the data, and you have finished collecting the data and you've done your analysis, the next thing is that you need to discuss the result with the client. That, oh, client, I've seen that, okay, we've checked your issues regarding your temperament. You seems to be more of sanguine, and therefore this is the reason, or this is what it means to be a more of sanguine. What are the characteristics of a more of sanguine? You need to explain and discuss the finding with the individual. Again, you who is the client, or sorry, the counselor, you should respect all the ethical issues as far as administering test is concerned, so that you don't just get up because you are the counselor. No, you don't just do things anyhow because you are a teacher. And that is one thing that is wrong in our environment, because some teachers will only get up, come to school, look at the face of the student, and then from there they say, take a sheet of paper, let's do a test. No, it is wrong. The students are supposed to be aware why that test, and when we are doing it, what will they cover and what will be the format. Students are supposed to know. This will prepare them ahead of time. Test or assessment is not meant for punishment. No, so we should not go about assessment with the intention of punishing our students. Having looked at appraisal, can we now focus on the second type of service or guidance service that takes place in the school system, and that is the orientation service. Orientation service is an organized group of activities through which students are given assistance to make adjustment to the school environment. Usually when we have new students in the school, what is normally organized for them is what we call the orientation service. And this orientation is to help them, give them the kind of information they will need, and that will support them in their studies. so that they can adjust effectively within the school environment. So that is in a school environment. What about non-school environment? In our when people who work in institutions, other environment companies and all that, people, all new staff ought to be oriented. It's always important. Not even new, maybe once there is something new that the others are not other used to, what do we need to do? We need to kind of help them, carry them through some orientation. Even in our homes, when people come to us, we need to give them some orientation. Yes, because how will they go? Where will they go? At what time? And what do they do? You need to give them some orientation. So you realize that orientation is conducted all over homes, institutions, organizations, because day in and day out, new things are coming. So you need to orient people. We need to give them some level of information so that they can deal with the new environment. What are the basic aim or purpose of orientation in the school system, for example? One, through orientation, students, both physical and psychological, adjust to the new environment because that place is completely new. Assuming that you are in a secondary school or you are in a college, and you realize that these are new students from different environment coming into this school environment. They don't know where the library might be. They might not know where their lecture halls might be. They might not know exactly to do. So once orientation is provided, it settles them and it helps them to adjust into this new environment because the environment is totally new to them. Again, through orientation, new students get to know about the rules of the school, the rules and regulations of the school. Every institution has its rules and regulations. And therefore, once you've decided to be part of that institution, whether you are a staff or you are not a staff, but we decided to be part of that institution, then it automatically means that you are ready to surrender as far as the rules and regulations are concerned. The next one is that through the orientation, students are introduced to the channel of communication. For example, in a university system where you have from the bottom to the top, so you have your course rep. After your course rep, you have your academic counselor. After your academic counselors, you have your head of department. From the head of department, it goes to the dean of department, the dean of the faculty, from in that order. So you realize that some issues can just be settled at the level of the course reps. Some issues can be settled at the level of academic counselors. Some issues can be settled at the level of the headmaster, head of department. You see, all the in a basic school, sometimes the headmasters will also come in. So in the basic school, so through orientation, students are introduced to how they can channel their grievances. It's always important we tell them because they may have challenges. Who are they going to talk to and at what time? It's very important. The next one is that through orientation, students get to know the new students are aware of the kind of facilities the school has. So be library, be clinic, be what they will know. That is when they may be introduced to some of these things. Yeah. Again, the new students will know the school authorities in terms of student leaders. Who is the principal, who is the vice chancellor, who is the headmaster, who is the headmistress, who is this. They will know all this. The executive president, the school president, the school whatever. They know all these people. And therefore, when they meet them, they know how to address them accordingly. Again, it assists new students to have more knowledge in the programs that they are studying, especially where you have departmental orientation. They will inform you about, okay, assuming you are an accounting student, this is what it means. What about in the primary? What about in the JHS? In the JHS, where they do some number of courses, orientation will help them that as you have come from the primary, at the JHS, you are expected to do A, B, C, D. What about if the individual moved from JHS to a secondary school? Within the secondary school, the person is only supposed to focus on a particular program. So assuming the person is doing science, general science, so that individual will focus on the biology, the chemistry, elective maths, and the physics. So in addition, that person may also be doing commerce, calling English, and then general or integrated science and social studies. So through the departmental orientation, this new student gets to know that, okay, as I am here, these are the things I'll be doing. Good. The next one that I want us to quickly look at is information service, and within the school system is also one of the guidance services that we have. So with the information service, it is very important because that is when information is collected by the expert and then disseminated to the student. It's very important because students within the school would need information on a lot of things. Generally, students within a school environment would need information on educational issues, career, and personal social issues. Now, let's take educational issues. For example, in Ghana, where they do computer placement at the secondary school level. Now, the JHS student at the third year will need to select a secondary school with a program, and they are going to select this based on first choice, second choice, third choice, in this order. Now, the students need to know the kind of schools that we have in the country. How many of them are only female or single-sex school, and how many of them are mixed school in each region? How many of them are doing this particular kind of program? What are their program? How many of them are doing science? How many of them are doing literature? How many of them are doing general arts? How many of them are doing this? Students need to know. Again, how many of them are grade A schools? How many of them are grade B schools? How many of them are grade C schools? How many of them are grade D school in each region? Students must know. So that when they have this idea, when it is time for them to select school, they will not be found wanting. They'll be able to select which school within the region they want to go, and that region, which schools are grade A school, so that students don't make mistake by selecting grade A school first choice, the same grade A school second choice. Because when this happens, sometimes it makes it difficult for this student to even get their first or second choices based on the computer placement. So students ought to know this. And how would they know this? It is the duty of the guidance and counseling unit to provide this information to the student as far as this is concerned. Then career. So assuming you've taken a program, you want to study general arts at the secondary school, where you have as A, as B, as C in that order. You need to know, and what will each of these programs, what will be their end result? Where can it lead them to? What kind of career can they explore after studying, after going through this program? Students need to know. You know, that's the only way we can reduce the canker of unemployment in this country. That is the only way, or globally, because people need to be given the right career guidance. That is the problem. We lack career guidance. So many of us will select programs without knowing that this is where it's likely to end up. We don't know. So we finish school and we end up unemployed because we do things that we're not well informed. We don't have enough information about what we're doing. We're just doing it because we're kids and we have no choice. And at the time we realize that no, we are not doing we didn't start with the right thing. At that time somehow it might be too late. And people go to the university to study all kinds of things because they want to go to the university and they don't ask, they don't find out what kind of career that is available as far as that program they are studying is concerned. These are things that is very important. So we need to gather data on this information and then give to the students. Again, the next one is personal social. We are dealing with human beings. These are human beings. what is their personal issues, social issues, what are issues pertaining to the world, what is common now. Today, people are talking about suicide, people are talking about kidnapping. What information do you need to give to your student that at least to safeguard them from committing suicide, to safeguard them from being kidnapped, to safeguard them from being influenced negatively? You're talking about substance abuse. What can you help let your student have enough information about what it means by substance abuse and what are the effects and what can be done? And peer pressure, what can be done to be able to deal with such pressures? These are the things we need to tell our students. And how would they get? You need to get this information and then give to the student. And that is when they'll be well informed to do what is right and they would decline from what is not right. Why? Because we are building a future. They are a future that we are building it around. So we need to be careful how we build the future. Where do we get some of this information from? And if you are talking about schools issue, you can go to the GES and find out. If it is about university programs and stuff, you can go to the institution brochures and you gather all this material from them. You gather information from the newspapers. You gather information when you take your student on a field trip, during the lecture, health or whatever, health conferences, health talks. All these are areas that you can get information. And thank God now, by the help of NTC in Ghana, for example, teachers are given a privilege to attend conferences, teachers are given the opportunity to attend workshops, to update their knowledge on some of these things, so that when they come to the school, they'll be able to assist the student appropriately. And once this happens, you realize that our students will be well informed to make meaningful decisions. On this note, I want to say thank you for listening to me.